Last year, used car prices were at an all-time high, but in recent months, the wholesale price of used vehicles here in the U.S. decreased some 15.6%. So, will prices continue to fall or will it spike again? Today, we're looking at what to expect for used car prices this year. Also, I'll share some practical tips on how to save money when you're buying a used car. By now, you probably already heard about the global semiconductor chip shortage. Well, because of that, new vehicle production nearly came to a standstill. I'm talking about vehicle inventory at record lows and new vehicle prices at record highs. And that, in turn, pushed more consumers to consider the used vehicle market than ever before as a way to save money. This influx of extra customers helped cause used car prices to start going up and reaching record highs too. But right now, that's no longer the case, at least for wholesale prices of used cars. Used car prices actually started going back down in the summer of 2022. Between July and August 2022, wholesale car prices fell over 4%. And since then, they haven't stopped falling. Back in November 2022, wholesale prices of used vehicles reached their lowest level in over a year. After historic lows, more and more new vehicles are becoming finally available. And with more available new vehicles, consumers have more options to choose from. And that means wholesale used car prices are going down. Not only did wholesale prices of used vehicles sold here in the U.S. drop 15.6%, but November 2022 also marked the 6th consecutive months of decline. But here's the thing. Wholesale prices are quickly declining, but retail pricing isn't falling as quickly. The wholesale price of a used car is how much the dealership paid for the car. The retail price of a used car is how much the dealer is asking for the car. From the looks of it, car dealers are trying their best to hold on to record high retail pricing, at least for now. So yes, retail pricing is going down too, but not by much. Back in October 2022, the average listing price of a used vehicle was $27,564. That was a decrease from the average retail price at the beginning of last year in January. In fact, if you compare the 2022 average between January and October, retail pricing fell by less than half of 1%. Then again, retail sales dropped 1% in November compared to the month prior. So the decline in retail pricing is picking up, although slowly. With wholesale prices of used cars falling, many consumers are wondering, will used cars become more affordable for the average consumer? Well, not necessarily. It's not as simple as that. Here's why. The drop in wholesale prices differ depending on the different types of cars. For example, luxury vehicles have seen the largest drop in wholesale prices, but compact cars have seen the lowest price drop. And just because car dealers aren't paying less for used vehicles doesn't necessarily mean they'll lower their asking prices for you, the consumer. In reality, if the dealers just paying less to get their inventory but charging the high retail rates as they have been doing these past few months, well, simple math tells you the dealer's just getting a higher profit margin. In other words, it's the dealerships that are benefiting, not you, the consumer. You also have to take the rising interest rates into account. The average interest rate for a 60-month loan on a new car jumped from 3.85% to 5.16% between January and September 2022. Obviously, this impacts the total cost for the car and the monthly payments. The thing is, used car loans can vary a lot more than new car loans. So, even if retail prices fall a little in the coming months, rising interest rates counteract any real drops in retail prices. And of course, you can't ignore inflation. People's paychecks aren't rising enough to keep up with higher living costs. That means budgets are getting tighter and there's less room in the budget for car payments. So even if used retail prices drop a little, it may not be enough to fit into your car budget. You're probably thinking that supply chain issues appear to be improving right now. But the thing is, that too is unpredictable. Many in the car industry are predicting that the semiconductor chip shortage will continue through 2023. A survey of 179 companies by the Association of Equipment Manufacturers found that 98% are still facing continued supply chain problems, and almost 60% believe that these problems will continue to get worse. Many car makers are addressing supply issues by developing sourcing alternatives and also investing in domestic plants. They're trying to reduce dependency on foreign suppliers and international logistics. Yet, despite all that, these strategies are unlikely to bring about the end of the semiconductor chip shortage, at least not in the coming months. That means a lot more Americans will consider to buy used cars rather than brand new ones in order to save money. And remember, when you have high demand of anything, then prices normally don't drop a lot. All this is to say, we shouldn't expect retail prices of used cars to budge significantly in 2023. In fact, some analysts say that the used car market in the U.S. might not recover until 2025 at best. I'm talking about prices returning to pre-pandemic levels. In general, cars that are 1 to 3 years old will be in short supply for years to come. Obviously, this isn't what most consumers want to hear. But it's not just consumers who are impacted. This all spells bad news to some companies and dealers. Take CarMax, for example. Several weeks ago, CarMax reported an 86% drop in its third quarter profit for 2022. 86% down. On top of that, CarMax's shares fell almost 12% to $52.10. We're talking more than a 2.5-year all-time low. You see, CarMax reported that its retail and wholesale used vehicle unit sales for the quarter was 298,807 through November. That was a drop of 28% from the year before. In the third quarter, CarMax also bought 40% less vehicles. At the same time, CarMax's revenue fell 24%. I'm talking $6.51 billion. In fact, things got so bad for CarMax that last December 2022, it started pausing some hiring activities and cutting some expenses. The company also added it would be taking a conservative approach to its capital structure. If you're wondering why CarMax got hit so hard, part of it is because CarMax purchased used cars when wholesale prices were at record highs. But vehicle affordability, or lack thereof, continued to impact its third quarter unit sales performance, not to mention pressure from inflation, climbing interest rates, and low consumer confidence. But CarMax isn't the only company to face trouble. There's also Carvana. Over the last few years, Carvana has become the leading e-commerce platform for buying and selling used vehicles. But right now, it's a different story. Carvana rose to popularity in the used car industry because of its unique business model. Consumers were offered the possibility to buy used cars online and have them delivered right to their residential home. Some 30-plus Carvana locations even offer a multi-story vehicle vending machine where consumers insert a token, watch their car get retrieved, then take the car out for a spin before they sign and drive home with it. Anyway, when millions of American consumers were stuck at home during the pandemic, the idea of online shopping for used cars became more appealing. But then inflation started to rise, interest rates started to rise, and fears of a recession started to become very real. All these factors combined, and there are fears that the company might have to file for bankruptcy soon. Between January and December 2022, Carvana stock dropped 98% in value. 98%. Rumors and expectations of Carvana declaring bankruptcy started after news that some of the largest holders of Carvana's debt signed an agreement to negotiate a possible debt restructuring in the event of bankruptcy. These holders together hold around $4 billion of Carvana's $6.3 billion in debt. There are also reports of Carvana starting discussions with lawyers and investment bankers to discuss options for managing debt. Now, technically, debt restructuring doesn't always mean a company's on the brink of bankruptcy, but the fact that Carvana's creditors already signed an agreement doesn't bode well for them. If you're shopping for a used car, here's what you can expect for used car prices this year. There's good news and bad news. The good news is that the used car shortage we saw back in 2022 should improve this year. In 2022, there were 27.5 million newly originated car loans and leases for new and used car vehicles combined. But this new year, analysts expect to see 28.8 million. In other words, it should increase by 4.6% in 2023. But now here's the bad news. While the vehicle shortage may decrease, it won't be gone completely. So retail car prices for used cars won't go back down as much as you might want them to. Prices are expected to go down a bit, but not significantly. Also, there's been a growing trend of new car shoppers who actually are buying late model used vehicles if the new vehicle they want is out of stock. So that conversion adds to the demand, which keeps retail car prices from falling more. Anyway, if you're planning on getting a used car this year, here are some tips to help save some money and get a good value for your dollar. First of all, you should make a realistic budget. It's always good to count the cost before you buy anything, and that includes a used car. The general rule of thumb is to allocate no more than 25% of your budget for car-related costs. I'm talking about the monthly car loan payment, plus running car expenses like estimated fuel usage, your insurance costs, and routine maintenance. But there's the other part of this tip. After you've set a realistic budget, you need to stick with it. Be sure to get a car that fits your budget, for example. Second tip, wait until the end of the month before buying a used car. Not many people know this, but dealerships work month to month. Dealerships try to sell as much inventory as possible before the month closes. So they have the inventory left by the end of the month. This means you have a better chance for deals toward the end of the month. Here's another tip. It's called the 90-day rule. Try to buy a used car that's been on a dealer's lot for almost 90 days or 3 months. That's because by that point, the dealership is typically more inclined to negotiate on the price because they want to get rid of that car. If they can't sell that car, they'll have to send it to the used car wholesale auction, which they don't want to do since they'll likely end up losing money on the car selling it at a wholesale auction. Last tip of the day, be open-minded about the used car color and trim. If you have very specific, narrow criteria for the car of your dreams now, well, it'll really reduce your chances of getting a good deal, plus you're reducing yourself to a limited inventory. On the other hand, if you broaden your criteria and keep an open, flexible mind about color and trim, then you'll see there's more lower-priced inventory out there for you to choose from. But now you tell me, are you planning on buying a used car this year? If you've heard any other tips for buying a used car, please share by commenting below. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for your support.